Charles Ayers has contributed decades of service, engaging in work that shaped the future of electric cooperatives in rural Kansas and impacting cooperatives across the United States. Charles rose to leadership through his firm belief in the cooperative business model and his faith that rural Kansas, working together, could accomplish great things. Charles has an upbringing not common to most Kansans. Born in 1942, Charles was one of 4 children born to Alan and Jane Ayers in New York City. His dad, a Wall Street lawyer, provided an upbringing in the classic suburbs of Connecticut. In 1965, Charles graduated from the famed Amherst College in Massachusetts, where he served as captain of the ice hockey team. From there, he traveled west to complete his graduate work in California. During those college years, Charles was married to his wife Joanne in 1967. 1 year later, he graduated from the San Francisco Theological Seminary, where he began to pastor in churches throughout the state of California. In 1971, Charles became a Kansas farmer by choice, moving from the palm trees of Beverly Hills to the tumbleweeds of Leota, Kansas. As one could imagine, moving from one of the largest metro areas on the West Coast to a small town in the Kansas Plains proved to be quite the change of pace. Ready to take on the challenge, Charles and Joanne settled in and began farming on her family farm. As a first-generation farmer, Charles quickly learned what it takes to keep the farm operation running smoothly. At the time, the farm consisted of all irrigated crop ground, raising corn, sunflowers, beans, and alfalfa. Even an occasional group of calves, and at one point an overgrown 4-H sheep project, made their way onto the farm over the years. During this time, they also welcomed 2 daughters, Marnie and Kara, and have since been blessed with grandchildren, Elion, Maya, Graham, and Benjamin. Charles began his cooperative career in 1986 when he was elected to serve as a member of the Wheatland Electric Cooperative Board of Trustees. It was during this time on the board that Charles, alongside other represented members, participated in the assessment of the Sunflower Electric Power Corporation's financing with the Rural Utility Service, known as RUS. As a selfless leader and effective communicator, Charles became engaged in advocacy for the cooperative cause, educating the RUS on their role in the Sunflower's financial position. Through perseverance and commitment, Sunflower was able to secure an agreement that allowed continued operation and subsequently growth. Rural electric cooperatives throughout the state of Kansas are still benefiting from the commitment of Charles and his fellow directors today. Just 10 years later, Charles was again called upon to demonstrate statesmanship and defend the cooperative cause. He was faced with educating a different body of individuals this time, a Kansas legislature's special task force. The task force was convened to investigate the advancement of retail choice, which was introduced to Kansas by the now infamous Enron Energy. As Enron tried to convince customers and officials that retail choice would lower electric rates, Charles and the Kansas Electric Cooperatives team lobbied several months to prove them otherwise. Through a series of articles, letters, and testimony in the State House, Charles was able to provide clarity to the task force that ultimately resulted in the legislature not pursuing retail choice. His leadership did not go unnoticed. Charles was elected to serve on the Sunflower Electric Power Corporation board from 2000 to 2017. There, he served as chairman on 2 separate occasions. His willingness to speak out and the desire to understand complex issues have served many other organizations as well. Throughout Charles's decades of service to the cooperative industry, He has sought to integrate co-op board responsibilities with the ultimate mission of service to community and rural Kansas.
I was able to work with Charles Ayers for 5 years on both the Wheatland and Sunflower Electric Board. He was always my go-to trustee as far as asking questions such as, Charlie, why did we do this? Or Charlie, can you give me a little bit of the history on the cooperative? He was an invaluable, important, and great guy to work with, and I do miss working with him. Thanks, Charlie.
Well, I've known Charlie for over 20 years, and during that time, I had the good fortune of serving beside him on both the Wheatland and Sunflower boards. During that time, I saw his love and passion for the cooperative world. Charles has so many great attributes, but the two that stick out to me are his vision and his courage to get things done. I'm so happy to see Charles receive this deserved award and proud to call him my friend. Congratulations, Charlie.
I'm Woody Barnes, and I am a trustee with Wheatland Electric Cooperative. I had the unique pleasure and opportunity to work with Charles Ayers on the Wheatland board for roughly 10 years, and can honestly say he's one of the people I look to as an example of how to be an effective board member and a better person. Charles is one of the most eloquent communicators I've ever worked with and has such a command of the English language that it simply draws you in and requires your attention and engagement. Added to that, Charlie's ability to listen to what you have to say, you have the combination needed to be a great trustee and deserving of the recognition of your peers. Congratulations to my good friend Charles Ayers on his induction into the Kansas Cooperative Hall of Fame.
My name is Stuart Lowry, and I'm the President and CEO of Sunflower Electric Power Corporation in Hays, Kansas. I'm thrilled that Charles Ayers is being recognized by his cooperative peers with this selection to the Kansas Cooperative Hall of Fame. Charles's cooperative story, and maybe even his Kansas story, is really one of a kind. If you were to describe a story in which a young man is raised in Connecticut, the son of a Wall Street lawyer, is educated in an elite boarding school, and then plays ice hockey and graduates from the prestigious Amherst College, pursues his divinity education in California, becomes an associate pastor at a Presbyterian church in Beverly Hills, and then leaves all of that behind to move to the western Kansas farm where his new wife was raised, Hollywood movie producers, or at least Netflix, would purchase the rights. Well, that's Charles's story. A favorite scene of that movie would be the one in which Charles is sent to the elevator to deliver grain during his first week in Kansas, and failing to make note of the turns, can't find his way back to the farm despite being able to see for miles in every direction. Sorry about that, Charles. That story is just too good to leave out. But what Charles did after he arrived in Kansas is in many ways more amazing, certainly more inspiring. Charles bloomed where he was planted. He served too many churches to name and too many roles to describe, ministering to the people of western Kansas in the ways that they needed it the most. He provided leadership to multiple different cooperatives, and 5 just in the electric cooperative realm by my count: Wheatland, Sunflower, ACES Power Marketing, Western Fuels Association, and the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation. In each of these cooperative directorships, he brought steady, even-keeled leadership to the boardroom. He understood the mission of the cooperative, whether that cooperative was providing generation and transmission service, fuel supply, rail service, energy management, or finance and banking, was to bring value to the lives of his neighbors. Charles was a critical part of Sunflower's success over decades, helping to put us on a strategic path that we remain on today. Charles, thank you for your service to your fellow man. Thank you for your service to Sunflower, and congratulations on your selection to the Kansas Cooperative Hall of Fame. I can think of no one more deserving.
Charles is a shining example of cooperative leadership. On behalf of the Kansas Cooperative Council, congratulations.